I'm Seaman Sadie. I'm an ET. I'm from Los Angeles, California. ETs have a really long A school, so it's really easy to get bored in Great Lakes and want to go party. So whenever I go out and party, I go out with a bunch of my guy friends, and you know, we have a good time. We take care of each other. We look after each other. And there's this one guy, really nice guy that I know from my boot camp division. Well, one night he got really drunk, and the guys ended up getting really smashed, and so we went and we got a hotel. They're all my good friends. We've done this before, and they all straight up passed out as soon as we got there, like on the floor in the bed and everything, and I got the other bed. I was lying there, wide awake, and you know, suddenly he was just lying on top of me. The more I moved, the more he was like hurting my wrist. I was wearing these like shorty pajama shorts, and I was telling him, please don't do this, you're drunk. It all happened really fast and in like slow motion at the same time. I was crying when he did it, and cab back to base, and I just cried the whole time. When the guys got back the next day, I told them what had happened, and they were all like, oh, but he's, you know, he's awesome, he's married, he's so nice, he's such a nice guy. So they didn't believe me at all, and finally I confronted him about it, and he said that he didn't remember what had happened and that he didn't believe me. Well, it's funny, you know, because they like suddenly stopped talking to me, and they acted like they didn't know me. It took me 2 weeks to finally say something, and when I did, they said, why didn't you say something before? Why didn't you say something right away? And I said that I was scared and I didn't know how to, and so they thought that I was lying. It felt really terrible. I mean, that's when I started drinking, and I isolated myself from one. It wasn't until 6 weeks later when I found out that I was pregnant. Eventually we went to court, and he was dishonorably discharged with jail time. It still affects me today. I don't go out as much as I used to. It was important for me to share this with CSAD because I want to get my story straight, and I want other people to know it and to be able to see the signs and, you know, say something. My friends should have stepped in when they saw him grabbing me in the club. They should have not drank so much. I mean, the should haves and could haves go on forever and ever. But ultimately, it's his fault. It's his fault, and you have to be careful out there, even with shipmates. It's unfortunate, but it's true. And I just hope that no one has to go through what I went through.
Department of Veterans Affairs indicate that as many as 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted while serving in the military. But receiving benefits from the VA remains a challenge. Last year, the Service Women's Action Network, the Yale Law School Veterans Legal Services Clinic, the ACLU, and the ACLU of Connecticut released a report showing that veterans who experience sexual assault have their benefits claims denied more than veterans with other types of PTSD. The St. Paul, Minnesota office granted only 26% of the military sexual trauma claims they received. Anyone who has seen the powerful documentary The Invisible War has anguished along with Corey Chioka. Corey survived a horrific sexual assault while serving and suffered severe injuries to her face and jaw incident to the assault. She waited for years for an answer from the VA on the jaw surgery she needed, but her claim was ultimately and shockingly denied. The VA has a long way to go when it comes to granting benefits for survivors of military sexual trauma. And this, according to the Defense Department, by the numbers, men in the military are more often victims of sexual assault than women. Yesterday, Senator Gillibrand of New York screened a documentary on Capitol Hill called Justice Denied. In it, male victims tell the heart-wrenching stories of being sexually assaulted and too often being ignored by their commands after they reported an attack and isolated by their fellow service members for doing so. We must do a better job, a much better job, of protecting these men and taking care of them after these incidents.
Reported it and got told I was a liar, that I just wanted to go back home. And the master at arms that I spoke to told me that he would speak with these gentlemen about it, and after he did that, my life turned to hell. The gang of molesters decided one time that they were going to ransack me while I was in the shower, beat the crap out of me, shoved me on the ground, tried shoving a bottle of shampoo up me. Then they ended up raping me with a toilet bowl cleaner. I ended up going to the ship's doctor. I was bleeding. He told me it was fine. It was probably just hemorrhoids or something. And just don't worry about it. I don't have to work for the day, and go back to work the next day.
So my appeal with the military was that, it may sound funny now, but I remember tailhook scandal and thinking that they had fixed all those problems. So I enlisted in 1993. And I will share with you that many years later, I'm 39 now, so I've been in the VA system for 20 years. Last year, as a survivor and an advocate in recovery, and there's a difference between a war crime and a domestic terrorist crime. And in my opinion, a man who's given the responsibility to care for, make sure a teenager is fed, clothed, has a safe place to live, and they have a key to your barracks, but they can also come and rape you, I sort of have a problem with that. And it's still happening today. And I know this because I am a volunteer victim advocate for Military Rape Crisis Center.
Everything changed the day that I was raped.
He hit me in the head and knocked me out.
I remember holding the closet thinking, what just happened?
A month later, I found out I was pregnant.
If this is happening to me, surely I'm not the only one.
16,150 service members were assaulted in 2009.
About 500,000 women have now been sexually assaulted in the U.S. military.
They let this man get away with everything but murder.
They gave him Military Professional of the Year award during the rape investigation.
They made it very, very clear if I said anything, they were going to kill me.
Most Americans assume that there is access to a system of justice.
You would think that because the military is about protecting our country, that certainly they would want to protect their own.
Civil rapists are repetitive criminals. They do it again and again.
They go on to literally prey on women and men, girls and boys in our neighborhoods back home.
When does this ever end?
It's very difficult to do a story on the most powerful institution in the world.
The Department of Defense has a history of covering up sexual offense problems. I don't know who you think elected you to defy the Congress of the United States. What is it you're trying to hide?
The NCIS agents assured me, we have never had this much evidence. They found his DNA inside my rape kit. He was still found not guilty of anything.
I woke up in a puddle of blood. I realized that I had duty, and in the military, if you don't report for duty, you're considered AWOL. So I thought that if I could get myself to base, I could get medical help. And I also wanted to report the crime. And I told him what happened, and my duty officer said, really? He said, it looks like you had a rough roll in the hay. I went to the second in command. He just said that I was a slut and that females had no business in his unit. And I tried to explain to him about my wounds. physical wounds in the blood in my vagina and running down my legs. And he told me, perhaps you'll just call it a bad period. She said, I'm going to do you a favor, though, and give you an honorable discharge and write borderline personality disorder on it so you can't re-enlist.